This story is about 10 years ago, and it involves my ex-girlfriend, who, for the purposes of this story, I'll call Megan to protect her true identity, which is Eva McKinnon. Whoops. Oh well. So Eva and I, we had a beautifully horrible relationship where I'm sure many of you can relate. It was built on the pillars of passion and mistrust, which is a toxic elixir that maybe some of you are here tonight with someone that makes you feel that way. But our relationship, we were always constantly breaking up, and then we would go a week without talking and then get back together without resolving anything. And this went on for years. But, at the time that this story takes place, we were going actually through a bit of a good patch. It had been a strong day or two. And so this is all coming to me as I'm saying it. I think this is going to be a happy story. I'm feeling good. At the time I was living in Montreal, and she was living in Brockville, Ontario, which is about 2 hours away. And I called her up and I said, I'm going to come and see you this weekend. And she said, oh, it's a great idea. Why don't you invite your friend Ari and we'll do a double date because I have a friend that I want to set them up. And I said, great. And we talked for a minute and we got off the phone and I was feeling really good because we didn't have a fight and we hadn't broken up. So it was a strong minute. And a day or two go by and I go and I pick up my friend Ari in my brand new car. It was my first car. And we're driving on the highway, the 401, to Brockville, and I'm telling him I'm kind of going into salesman mode because I'm still drinking the Kool-Aid from having bought my first car, and I'm telling him, oh bro, this new Civic, man, it's completely redesigned, and I'm doing a really bad impression of myself right now, which is probably the saddest thing ever. Because I don't say bro. Anyways. I got the voice right, at least. So I'm talking to my friend, and I'm saying, Ari, my new car, I love it. It won all these competitions for its safest Civic in its class, and it's got airbags in the front, and there's airbags near you, and there's airbags in the side, and man, I want us just to get in an accident so that you can have all these airbags come out and kind of snuggle you up like pillows here at the Four Seasons. And stop hugging myself. And you should be careful what you wish for. So about 5 minutes after this story, it's winter time, and it was a pretty nice day. It was just a little bit of fluttering snow, and very sunny, and I was driving at a normal speed, for the record, and about a 10, 12, 14, I don't know, wheel truck all of a sudden spins out of, I don't know if you want a visual, spins. My truck impression is better than the impression of myself, I don't know. The truck spins and completely blocks the entire 401 highway. And I'm about 50 meters or so from it, so I have time, and I just see one car and then another car, and they just slam into it. And I put on the brakes, and we don't stop. We slow down, but we keep going confidently towards the truck. And I realize that we're probably on a bit of black ice, and we're going to hit the truck. So I have all these options flash through my mind. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure story where all the options are bad. So I could either veer off completely to the left and go into if you've ever been to the 401, there's like a grassy knoll ditch. But there was snow, so I wasn't sure how deep, if it was a big trench or if it was shallow. If it was a big trench, it probably would flip over. If it was shallow, then there's a good chance I'd go over this little ditch and then into oncoming traffic, which would be probably not as good as hitting a truck. So that was one option. The other option on the table was to hit the truck. So I'm going over these options, and that's usually when your life flashes before your eyes. I knew I had about 5 seconds before we hit the truck, and I should have thought of something deep or something happy, but it was kind of just really awkward because it's like we were stressed out and it was almost boring. We knew we were gonna hit. We had 5 seconds and we couldn't do anything really or have a deep conversation. So we were kind of just looking at each other and we're shrugging and we're like, we're gonna hit this truck, and Ari's like, this is gonna really suck. And we had time for me to be like, yeah, really, this is really gonna suck. But we're not stopping, we're just gliding. And then we hit the truck. And I don't remember hitting the truck at all. Still don't remember it. The next thing I remember is I'm sitting next to Ari, but we're in a different car. And things are starting to come into focus. And I'm saying very calmly, the important thing is that we're all right, everyone remain calm. And I look and there's a woman sitting in the front seat of this car, and I assume her daughter sitting next to her. And I'm saying, everyone remain calm, everyone remain calm. And Ari said, Josh, you've been saying that 20 minutes on a loop. Everyone remain calm on a loop. And the girl's just bawling. And I look behind me, and the rear of the car is missing. It's like a Will Smith blockbuster movie. The car is missing, and then there's just a trail of cars piled up behind us. And I look back at them and I say, everyone remain calm. And then the girl starts bawling and the mother says, my daughter is afraid of your horrible face. Happens, right? So I touch my head and I realize that my head is expanded to about double its normal size. I look like a Klingon, probably. And I'm starting to think a little more clearly, and I look at Ari, and he's covered in blood. Okay, you don't get any poop, but there's blood. Okay? So he's covered in blood from his entire face, and there's little chips of glass all over him. And I'm very calm, and in hindsight, I had a massive concussion. But at the time, I thought I'm really in control. I'm really taking charge. So I took my phone out. And I called a tow truck because one of the other people that we'd hit was a policeman, ironically, and he was flipping out the most, and he was telling us that this was maybe the worst pileup in Ontario history. Ended up being over 150 cars, and they were out of ambulances, and they were out of helicopters, and he shrugged. The system was not going to come to our aid, even though we were, broken and battered. He told us we have to figure out how to get to the hospital. Oh. So I'm very calm, and I call a tow truck, and then I call Eva, Megan, whoops, and I tell her that we're going to be late. Don't worry, I was just in a horrible car accident, and I hang up very calmly before she can reply, and I call my parents because I'm a good son, and my mom answers, and I say, hey, how you doing? She's good. How are you? I'm like, good. I was in a car accident. My car is completely totaled. I'm covered in blood. I'm going to be going to the hospital. Talk to you later. And in my mind, with the concussion kind of on my shoulder, I thought that this would calm her. It didn't calm her. So she's, oh my God, we're gonna come to the hospital, and then my dad and her got into the car to come to Brockville. We were very close to Brockville. So the tow truck comes. We get into the tow truck, and we're driving away. We're about 5 minutes maybe from the hospital in Brockville, and he's listening on the monitor to all these accidents coming in, and he's like, my God, this is when I got into this business, I didn't think it would be like this. This is the best day of my career. And you shouldn't trust my accent. He didn't have a southern accent, but I don't know, felt like doing one. And he said, gentlemen, I'm not gonna be able, this part's true, if not the accent, I'm not gonna be able to bring you to the hospital. I got too much work today. I'm going to drop you off at the Tim Hortons. So I was still very much calm and collected and concussed. So I said, okay, sure. And he dropped us off at the side of the road at a 24-hour Tim Hortons and left. So Ari and I walk into the Tim Hortons looking like we're in The Walking Dead. And everyone's looking at us and their faces are all dropping. And Ari limps over to the cashier and he says, I'd like some Timbits. So she says, okay, that will be $4.50. And for some reason, this is what set me off. I was really mad that they wanted us to pay for the Timbits, and I don't know why this came out, but it's a weird thing to get mad, but I just said, this is such a golden PR opportunity for you, and you're blowing it. I don't know why. And I was furious. And she said, fine, have the Timbits. And she just so then, as this is happening, 8 firemen walk into the Tim Hortons, all in their full gear. 8 firemen, one after the other. And they just look at us, and their eyes are big, because we're really a mess. And we look at them, and there's a nice little moment of silence where if this was an indie flick, you'd hear the Shins, or something would come in and it'd be very artsy. But instead, you just hear Tim Hortons and people ordering coffee. And then I asked them, can you bring us to the hospital? It's only 5 minutes away. And they actually said no. They said, we're not allowed for insurance purposes to transport civilians unless you go unconscious. And I asked, what was if I fake it? And they said, I wouldn't do that. So they also said, but we're not allowed also legally, since we're firemen, to leave you until you get proper aid. So they ordered a ambulance, but like I said, they were out. They were out of ambulances. Like going to a restaurant, they're like, we're out of that pizza. They were out of ambulances that day. So we sat at this 24-hour Tim Hortons for about 7 hours, with 5 minutes away from the hospital, with big fire trucks outside, as they just monitored our life signs, and we played poker with them, and we got to know all about them and their career aspirations. And then finally the ambulance arrived, and they wheeled us in to the stretchers and took us to the ambulance into the hospital. And as they're wheeling us out of the ER, I see my parents and I see Eva looking at us through the glass, and Ari turns to me and he says, oh yeah, by the way, the airbags, none of them inflated. That's it, thank you.